What's up, everyone? It's your boy Kenma here. I'm gonna do a draft analysis of the finals between C9 and Tempo Storm. I'm gonna show you how these games were lost by the games that Tempo Storm lost. I 100% believe that they lost them at the draft before the game was even played, and that they were pretty unwinnable because they lost so hard. And I'm gonna tell you what I would have done if I was their coach and how I would have drafted for them to prevent this to happening. All right, let's get into the game one. All right, so I'm at GhostGamers.net. Shout out to them. So we got game one here. It's on Cursed Hollow, and they go for Tempo Storm is the first ban. They go for a Jaina ban. It's a pretty standard ban. I honestly don't mind it on against C9 here. K1 Pro's a pretty good Jaina player, so it makes a lot of sense. And then C9 bans Zeratul because Zuna pretty much doesn't lose on Zeratul unless it's against Koreans. So that's a pretty standard ban from C9. And then let's see how the rest of this draft comes out. So Tempo Storm steal the Uther away from Cloud9, and this is the right pick to go. I don't think Tempo Storm is not anywhere near as good at using Uther as Cloud9 is, but still just taking it away from Cloud9 will make their team comp a lot weaker than if they had Uther. So I think it's it's definitely a good pick. Cloud9 then goes into the Kael'thas Leoric as their first round of picks, which I think is it worked out really well considering what Tempo Storm did. But I'm going to tell you where Tempo Storm went wrong and what they should have done to prevent it. Okay, so right here, what is Butcher Tyrande is their next round of picks on Tempo Storm. So the first round of picks look like Uther, Butcher, Tyrande against Kael'thas Leoric. Now, this makes absolutely no sense to me because Butcher is a really bad pick against Uther. You never really want to play Butcher into Uther. Any Butcher player will tell you that's just not a good time. Like, Divine Shield kind of just shuts him the fuck down. So picking Butcher this early makes zero sense to me. The Tyrande pick is because C9 favors Tyrande so heavily, and they know they will 100% take Tyrande if they do not take or ban it. But Tempo Storm does not run Tyrande anymore. They don't practice her. They don't play her well. The last time I saw them play it in a tournament, they did horrendous. They did nothing with her. So I do not understand taking these picks early. It makes zero sense to me. How I would have went about this draft, I would have snap picked Sonya, because look at this draft right here. Kael'thas is not very good against Sonya. He can just train him. You're never going to kill him with Divine Shield. Leoric's horrible against Sonya. It's the best pick. I would take Sonya here. And then what would I take right here? What's still up here? Johanna. If I'm going to... Wave Clear is pretty good on this map, but just the fact that I know Cloud9 is so good with... Caffeine is such a good Muradin, and Muradin shuts down Sonya, I would probably just take Muradin here. So I would go for an Uther. I would go for Uther, Sonya, Muradin as my first three picks. Now I'm sitting in a position where my comp is literally almost... I just don't see what Cloud9 can pick to defeat that comp. Because at every single curse fight, they're going to get run down. At level 10, Sonya's going to kill everyone with Divine Shield. And you just need to... All you need to make sure is that the enemy team does not wreck you in lanes to the point where you can't win. So let's go into the next phase, right? Let's say that... So that's their comp right now. I would have Uther, Sonya, Muradin against this. And then going into the second phase, they'd still probably ban Johanna, because I don't remember seeing Cloud9 running Leoric Johanna before. But let's go into that. So Muradin, right? I already took away Muradin. Okay, let's talk about the bans first. If I went for the Sonya and the Muradin picks, I would most likely ban Tyrande, because not because of how good I think she is as a hero, but because of how much C9 values her, and how well they play her, I would ban Tyrande. So now Tyrande's out of the pool. I would get, like, Cloud9 literally got wrecked the last time they ran Abathur 2 games. So why are you banning Abathur? It makes no sense. Like, an Uther Sonya Mirrodin comp will just wreck any Abathur comp at the Tribute. It'll wreck any Illidan Abathur comp. It'll be a joke. Like, that's the route that you need to go. So I'm gonna let me pull up a like text or something. Where's my notepad? Notepad. Alright, so this was what the draft would be looking like right now. Uther, Sonya, and Mirrodin. Okay? This is Tempo Storm's draft up here. And then, so what would now that Johanna's banned and Tyrande is banned, what is C9 gonna look to go into? Okay, they need CC of some sort, and they're kind of fucked with like the kind of like heroes that you can run. If they run Arthas, which is one of their valued tanks, it really messes up their comp. If they run Tassadar, it makes their comp really horrible. Like, Tassadar is completely useless against a Sonya Uther Mirrodin comp. So now, just by switching to these heroes, they are put into a situation where Cloud9 is pretty fucked with however they draft. So Cloud9 is most likely, they're gonna go, if I had to guess, Cloud9 is gonna go into a Zagara, right? That's probably their fallback, something like that, like Zagara. And if they do that, all Tempo Storm has to do is just run another melee of any sort. Like, they can run a Nubarak, they can run Arthas, they can run Butcher with Lamb of the Slaughter. Any of these things make the Zagara completely useless, and she can't lane. So all this stuff, like, if you just fix this first part of the draft, that just destroys Cloud9's team. They cannot draft anything to defeat that anymore, because Uther is that strong of a hero that just taking it first pick, it destroys the draft. So Tempo Storm had the draft won if they just drafted these 3 heroes first. That's what I think anyway. Going into the coulda, woulda, shouldas of what C9 is going to draft doesn't really make sense because I don't know. So I can only just tell you what I think. But either way, with the heroes that were left in the hero pool, Cloud9 cannot win this game in an equal setting. Like, they just cannot. So let me go into game 2. So game 2, okay. This is, let's see what map this is.
To do it at least.
Dragonshire. Okay, so we got Dragonshire here. Excuse me. So here are the bans. We have Kael'thas. Kael'thas is the first ban by Cloud9, and then Zeratul is banned by Tempo Storm. Okay, now let me tell you where Cloud9's already messed up. I mean, where Tempo Storm's already messed up. Tempo Storm needs to do one of 2 things in this situation. You give them Zeratul, and you ban Uther, because it's Dragonshire, and you do not want to give Cloud9 Uther when they're like the best team in NA at running Tyrande, Kerrigan, Uther comps. Like, you don't want to give that to them, right? So your only options right now are you either they fix this later on, I believe, in the 3rd or 4th game, but right now, look at what they're trading. They're trading Uther for Jaina Leoric, and then pretty much they get Jaina Leoric for Uther, Johanna, Tyrande. Now on this map, that is not acceptable. What you need to do in this situation, I believe, is you either ban Leoric or Johanna, or even banning Tyrande would be fine, right? And then you leave open Jaina, Zeratul, and Uther, and then if, say that Cloud9 takes Zeratul first pick, then you take Uther, Jaina, and then if they take Uther, you take Zeratul, Jaina, vice versa, correct? So that is how Tempo Storm needed to handle this draft. They already handled it incorrectly, and then they go into losing this draft super fucking hard, okay? So let's look at how the draft progressed here. Sonya ban. I mean, that's Honestly, it's a good ban, but Sonya actually does not have too much synergy with Tyrande as compared to a Kerrigan. So Rhaegar ban. Okay, the reason why this Rhaegar ban is really good for C9 is because it's not because it's a good ban in general. It's because it's a good target ban against Dreadnought. Dreadnought doesn't play Brightwing anymore, to my knowledge. He's not a great monk player, and he looks much more. When I watch him play, he looks like his most comfortable hero is Rhaegar. I could be totally wrong, but just watching as an outsider, if I had to guess his favorite support, it's probably Rhaegar. So I believe that's a target ban there. The Kharazim pick later on, it did nothing for them this game. It was just not a good pick. I didn't like it at all. And they just got crushed in the rotation. Like look at C9's team. That is like the early game dream team. They've got wave clear. They've got fucking 5 CCs. Like like what are you gonna do to stop that? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's go back to the how they should have picked, correct? So I told you what they should have done. They should have banned Tyrande, or they should have banned Leoric or Johanna. One of those two. That's probably how I would have done it. And then I would have taken one of the three. I would have taken Uther, Jaina. I would have taken out of Uther, Jaina, and Zeratul, whatever C9 first picked, I would have took the other two, and then I would have just done my draft from there on out. Because the way that they did this draft, like, just look at this comp rate, it's just, what is that comp going to do against this early game monster house? Like, they just can't. It's just such a small map with so many, like, it's all about rotations. And with Tyrande, they have the site. With Arthas, Johanna, they have the front line that's never going to die, and they have Kerrigan for catching people, and then they have Uther for just in case anyone fucks up with Divine Shield. I really do not think Tempo Storm can do anything after losing the draft this hard. So that's what they should have done early. Let's go to game 3.
Here on Battlefield of Eternity, Tempo Storm will likely go for a lot of just safe pressure with those ranged assassins, trying to just not get too far behind in the early game and
see what they end up one of those.
Different comp, Jake, that you would be expecting to see here on Battlefield of Eternity.
One of those lanes.
And the question is now, what do they pair with? More and more about it, but.
All right, one sec. I need some water. My throat's really fucking dry. Okay, so game 3. Game 3. Battlefield of Eternity. And we have Tempo Storm bans Abathur, and Cloud9 bans Zeratul. So they opt to ban the Abathur here. Abathur is quite good on this map, but I would probably just give C9 Abathur, because they're kind of like, at this stage of the game, I think they're kind of mentally damaged. Like their Abathur play got crushed the first day. I would just give them Abathur, you know? So I don't agree with that. I probably would have banned Jaina if it was me, but the Abathur ban is fine. It's completely fine. Why? Because Cloud9 bans Zeratul, and now you get Uther. Uther is infinitely better than Jaina in this game right now, in this current meta, because he is by far the strongest healer in the game. I'd go as far as saying he is the strongest hero in the game. It's either him or Zeratul, but Zeratul you can run with like anything, and Uther opens up so many different compositions that only he can open up as a support. Like no other support can do what he does. So that's why I value him so highly. So just the fact that they got Uther as their first pick, they're already winning. They're winning this comp, right? So Cloud9 goes for the Tyrande, which is kind of a surprise. Well, not too much of a surprise. They obviously value it very highly. I'm thinking that they probably would have got rid of it if they didn't take it. So that's probably why they took it in their first round of 2 picks. Then Tempo Storm goes for the Leoric and Kael'thas. Now, I do think this draft is actually pretty solid, but if it was me, I would have went for Sonya instead of Kael'thas. just because it opens up more possibilities. And 4 melee on this map can just run down Jaina Tyrande. It'll just run it down, right? There's no healer in the game besides Uther that can stop it, and you already have him. So I would have took Sonya over Kael'thas, but Kael'thas still works, you know? And then, let's see, the second round of bans are Sonya, and Kerrigan. The Kerrigan ban is more of a, they just lost to it more than it's a good ban, honestly. Like, I don't think Kerrigan's a good healer. I mean, I don't think Kerrigan is a good hero unless you have Uther. She is not a good hero. Uther is what makes Kerrigan a good hero. Just the fact that Cloud9 doesn't have her, but they just got crushed by her the game before, so that is probably the reasoning behind that ban. And then we look into... So Sonya Kerrigan bans, and then we look into the stage 2. They opt for Johanna Arthas, which is just one of the strongest front lines you can use. And Tempo goes for, they react with Avala Muradin. I personally, I was pretty sure Cloud9 was going to go for something like Rhaegar or Malf. So they pick Rhaegar. When I saw these comps, I was honestly thinking to myself, excuse me, I think like Cloud9's comp is a lot easier to execute, and Tempestorm's comp, just like Leoric Muradin as a combo, they don't really have the damage and output and tankiness. Like later on at 16 they have more tankiness, but early game they don't have the tankiness and damage output that a Johanna and a Arthas have, especially with a Mark. So I was thinking to myself, Tempestorm drafted probably the better comp, but it's harder to run. It's harder to execute. And in these series, like when you are not 100% like sold on your team's mechanical skill on everyone, you don't want to run the harder to run comp. You want to run something that's just like fresh and easy and smooth to execute. So while I think Tempestorm's comp is definitely the better comp, it's harder to run. So when I watched this game, it was a pretty close game. It went both ways, and Tempestorm just outplayed them. And the drafts, drafts didn't win this game either way. It was a pretty even draft. It could have gone either way, and then Tempestorm took this game. So that brought it to 1-2. Let's go to game 4.
And this should just allow Tempestorm to go for both Uther and then either Leoric and Johanna unless they choose Jaina.
All right, let's see what will... Johanna right off the bat.
And they go for
Good pick actually to take here.
Okay, see, this is where Tempestorm actually fixed their drafting. That this is what they did horribly in. It was game 1 or 2, I don't remember, but they fixed it this game. What did they ban? They banned Leoric. You see, they didn't ban Zeratul and give Cloud9 Uther for free. This game, they said, guess what? If you're going to take Zeratul or Uther, they take Zeratul. Now we get Uther Jaina. This is exactly what I was saying they needed to do earlier. They finally fixed it, but they fixed it when they're 2 games down, so that's not a good look. If they had a coach going into the series, this would have never happened. They would have been, they would have been clean on their game. Their drafting would have been clean since game 1. So going into this, Leoric ban, Dreadnought takes Uther and Jaina as their first rotation. Cloud9 took Zeratul as their first pick. Then they go for the Johanna Tyrande. They're obviously favoring Tyrande as their main, one of their top picks. They've been taking her first round almost every match, so it shouldn't be much of a surprise at this point. Then we go for second wave. They get Rhaegar ban and Muradin ban. So, let's talk about this. The Rhaegar ban, honestly, I'm not too big of a fan on it, but just because Dunk Train's a lot, Dunk Train's pretty, if you watch him play on Uther, I think he's a lot better on his Uther than on his Rhaegar or Malfurion. So that's why taking Uther these games has been so good for Tempestorm. So the Rhaegar ban, honestly, what would I have banned? Let me think for a second. Honestly, I honestly think that I think it was fine. I honestly think it was fine, to tell you the truth, because anything that I would have banned was already probably in play or banned already. So, and just the fact that they banned Mirrodin probably would have been one of my picks or bans. So that kind of changed it there. They go ahead and they take Arthas. They take Arthas and Vala, and then they take Malfurion, Illidan. So as soon as Cloud9 locks in Illidan, I know that Cloud9 has no chance of winning this game because their comp is completely horrible. It makes no sense. Like, they have Tyrande, but they don't have any setup for Tyrande. Like, their only setup for Tyrande this game is, like, a Johanna Pool or a Johanna ult or a Zeratul ult. Like, that's their 3 setups for, like, Tyrande this game. It's really horrible. They banned Mirrodin out, which would have... Yeah, like, the Mirrodin ban made sense, though, because Tempo Storm would have took Mirrodin almost guaranteed. And then they gave them a free Sonya pick, which Sonya is really good against Illidan and Zeratul. So Tempo Storm just completely crushed them in this draft. There was no hope for Cloud9 to win this game if their lives depended on it. Like, this game is over before the game starts. So if I had to say game 1 and 2 and 4, I'd say 1, 2, and 4 so far, 100% the outcome was decided before the game even started just from the draft. Game 3 was the only one that probably could have gone either way so far. Alrighty, let's go into game 5.
Cloud9 didn't have Rhaegar or Uther.
Alright, so the first ban is Zeratul. Let me get a drink of water really quick. My mouth is so dry from talking. Alright, so Cloud9 goes for the first ban, Zeratul. And then Tempo Storm goes for the Uther ban, which these are the most, that's like Zeratul Uther is the most common bans at the moment in Korea. And it's funny that it took till game 5 to see those bans come out in the series, but they finally came out. Then Cloud9 went for Jaina first pick. Tempo Storm responded with the Yorick and Kael'thas. Now, I don't 100% agree with this, and I'll tell you why. Because right now, if I see them pick Jaina, I'm 99% positive that Cloud9 is going to pick Tyrande, because they've been picking Tyrande in their first rotation every single game. So I know they're going to pick Tyrande. What do they love to run with Tyrande? Mirrodin. Like that. So if I'm Tempo Storm right here, I would not take Kael'thas. There's 0% chance that I take Kael'thas here. Leoric is fine, but Kael'thas, no. I would not take Kael'thas. I would probably take Leoric. I would probably take Leoric or Jaina, and then I'd take Mirrodin. I would take those two, depending on what I would want to do. And then I would look into going into an Asmodee comp. Because, look, they banned Vala. You're going to get an Asmodee comp, and you will just win late game with an Asmodee comp on this map. I know that Tempo Storm is very comfortable running Asmodee on this map, and that's what they should have went to. Let me tell you what happened in their draft and how they kind of fucked themselves. So, like, if you look at this draft right here, right? They take Kael'thas and Leoric. This is actually one of Kael'thas' weaker maps because you don't really ever have to fucking fight on this map, as you can tell if you watch the game. So right now what needs to happen, Kerrigan ban, horrible ban. They needed to ban Zagara. Because like once you see Jaina, Mirrodin, Tyrande, you are never going to have control of the top tower, the site tower. You're never going to have control of this. And then what does C9 want to do in their draft? They want to pick something that can 1 versus 1 domination bottom and keep control of bottom in a 1 versus 1 lane. They pick Zagara. Zagara even gets crushed this game. He gets crushed by Kael'thas and Abathur, but it doesn't matter because it's Zagara. He gets endless creep, just creeps up the whole bottom of the map, and Tempo Storm can do nothing to respond to that because they are getting crushed 4 versus 3 up top because Abathur is not strong enough to handle anything. They're literally just dying over and over trying to soak the lanes, and they can't do anything against their team comp. So if you look, why would they pick Abathur this game when it doesn't really even make sense with this comp? It's because they obviously, I think they went into it wanting to run Asmodee here. Is, if I had to guess, that's probably what they wanted to do. Is this was an Asmodee pick, but KO does not play Asmodee or Kael'thas. So, and with Arthalon being the only Arthalon plays Kael'Thas and Zuna plays Kael'Thas, but I'm pretty sure Zuna hasn't been practicing Kael'Thas. So Arthalon is their main Kael'Thas player. What is he also? He's their main Asmodin player. So by picking Kael'Thas this early, they fuck themselves as they can't run Asmodin because they only have one Asmodin player. So now they're forced to pick Abathur. Abathur is just a horrible pick with this team comp against this team comp because you're never going to be able to fight them. There's nothing you can do. You cannot fight them. You cannot fight this strong-ass early game with this. Like, they just have 2 wave clear tanks with no damage, so it's not going to happen. So what would I have done? I take Leoric or Johanna, and then I take Mirrodin, right? Then they will pick Tyrande X, probably Tyrande Johanna, if I had to guess what they would pick. If they took Tyrande Johanna, then I would most likely ban Zagara. I'd ban Zagara, and then I would pick, what was my team? Mirrodin, this is Mirrodin and Mirrodin Leoric. Then I would pick Sonya, and what else would they have? I'd pick Sonya, and I'd probably pick like Sonya Raynor is probably what I would pick. I'd pick Sonya Raynor, or I'd pick Sonya Asmodin. That's actually, like, Sonya Asmodin would work great here. And actually, Valla would probably also be open because they would have banned Kael'Thas most likely. So Valla would have been an option. Raynor would have been an option. Asmodin would have been an option. And then for my last pick, I would have picked my healer. I would have probably picked Monk. But considering the fact that Dreadnought can't really play Monk up to par of his Rhaegar, they'd probably just take Rhaegar, which would have been fine. So that's how I would have fixed that draft. I honestly don't see how Cloud9 could compete with an Asmodin comp if they ran it correctly on this map, if they took away the tools that they had. Like, the Mirrodin is the main reason. He's the key to them getting so screwed on the top 2 lanes. Any other healer in the game can't really do that. Like, even an Arthas can't do the same thing that a Mirrodin can, because, like, his root, even though it lasts the same time, it's just not the same thing as a stun. So, and with Sonya you could just fight them too. So that's another huge thing. So that's how I would have fixed that draft. I really feel like Tempo Storm's draft this game was horrendous. They had no chance of winning this game coming out of it. So if you look at that, all 3 games, game 1, 2, and 5, Tempo Storm lost the games before they even began. They lost them at the draft screen. And the easiest ways that you can fix this is, one, obviously hire a coach, because a good coach will fix this before it even happens. The second way is, if you don't want to hire a coach, obviously you need to do the drafting by yourself. You know, fix the drafting, make sure your hero pools are better, and just don't fuck yourself in the draft like they were doing. They were messing their own drafts up early, and they fixed it for game 3 and 4, but they went back to their old ways, and they did not know what to do game 5 in the draft, so they kind of fucked themselves. So anyway, that's what I think. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys liked it. I'll be coming out with more content. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you guys enjoyed it. Peace.